Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Inspiration in Isolation. My name is Ray, and I'm so excited to be sharing with you a special episode today. Today's episode is highlighting a certain significant person who hails all the way from New Zealand, and it is Tony. Say what's up, Tony.
What's up, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well in isolation or wherever you are in the world. Thanks for having me on the podcast, Ray.
Yeah, look, I would say I've been fanboying Tony for quite some time. A mutual friend of ours or a mutual acquaintance has said, "Hey, you need to hit this guy up. He's doing some amazing space in the digital, social media platform." And so today's episode is basically about a bit highlighting what Tony does in the social media, and how we can use that platform more so as to connect more intentionally and probably even talk about some of the challenges that we face in society. And so I guess the backdrop to our conversation today is about COVID-19. Most of us are now in isolation or quarantine or using that little Instagram emoji, stay home. And so today, by the end of this episode, I'm hoping to walk away from it feeling inspired by some of the stuff that Tony has shared, but also encouraged to know that someone from the other side of the ditch is also experiencing the same thing as well. So Tony, give us a bit of a background, where you're from, where you currently are now, and what's it been like in your sort of lockdown situation?
First and foremost, appreciate the time I get to sort of spend with you. I hope there's a little bit of value I can add to those that'll dial in and listen in. But my name's Tony, born in Samoa, raised in Onehunga. I'm currently living in Takanini at the moment. That's the deep south of Auckland. And I'm in isolation with my two sons, Sakalia and Limalia. They're 6 and 8 years old. The work that I do, it kind of just fell on my lap. Really, it wasn't anything that I had pursued, but I started a little company called Digital Discipline. And sort of the basis around it was just out of it was born out of a really private and secret addiction.
Yeah.
And that was it was about 8 or 9 years ago, around the time my first boy was born. And it was addiction around social media. It was an addiction to a device. It was the first time that Galaxy S3 came out.
Oh, now you're high rolling, bro.
And back then, like 8 years ago, it was like not the flash phone, but it was like the first smartphone that would like had everything, And I was like, this is the epitome of technology. It's not gonna ever get better than this.
Yeah.
I don't know what S we're up to now. It's like, I don't know, S14 or
Z, whatever. They're changing all sorts of letters and numbers.
But having such an awesome piece of technology and being fascinated by it was also a problem for me, because I didn't know how to manage my time or control, how sort of infatuated I was with this piece of technology. Because now I could go on YouTube and search up all the rugby highlights I wanted to.
That's right.
I could message anybody. I could camp on Facebook. I could be on the internet. So all of these things that were all separate things for me growing up. If you wanted to watch something before you watched TV, if you needed to check something on the internet, there was like a desktop computer at home, and all these things that were all different things are now all jammed into one piece of technology. So I was just so fascinated by it. And so over the next couple of years, I was just consumed by this phone. I was on it all the time, only because no one really told me that 6 or 7 hours on my phone was bad. With other addictions, they give you like almost like an amount that you can have. This is the amount of alcohol you can consume.
Yeah. Well, ideal. You should consume it, then that's it.
That's it. There's so many parameters around gambling or different other sort of addictions. With social media, there was absolutely nothing. So, for me, it was a big free for all. So I felt myself, I was just on it. It started to affect my relationships. It started to really impact the time that I was supposed to be spending with my son.
Yeah.
But every time, I don't like to think about it, but throughout his childhood, from 6 months old to 12, like I was just on my phone the whole time. The only reason why I would need him part of the time is to take cool photos so I can chuck it up on social media. And
Right.
I'm such a good dad, like
Yeah.
take my son here and take my son there. But half of the purpose was to show, social media world that I'm trying to validate myself in. So
Yeah.
it got to a point where it was really bad. And then I went looking for help. And when I went looking for help, there was actually nothing out there besides there was two websites that I came across. They were New Zealand based,
Okay.
but ironically, all of their help was online. So I was like, I'm trying to get away from online. I
Yeah.
don't need
Yeah.
any help
I don't need
from
to go
online.
into online.
Exactly, bro. So for another year and a half, I tried to figure this thing out. It was more around my emotions or my relationship with social media or with this piece of technology, and trying to undo a lot of things and trying to understand, why am I so drawn to it? Why am I so
Yeah.
attracted to it? What am I trying to fill in my real life that I'm trying to find here on social media? Because I'm not getting anything. It's ruined a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's made me really horrible with my time management. It's affected my relationships, and it's affected the way that I view people.
Yeah.
There's so much propaganda or just weird stuff that you see online that starts to make you feel like, oh, is that how Muslims are? Or is that how Christians are? Or is that how? And it's all been, from social media, and your view on the world and people starts to get skewed if you're not aware or
Yeah.
conscious about
Yeah.
what you're consuming. So I guess from there, I figured out the matrix, if you call it,
Yeah.
and got my balance right, because social media is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So it was understanding really, how do I coexist with this piece of technology, or Instagram or Facebook. And so
When was that moment for you, Tony? When was that moment where where it clicked? Like you're saying, it was you figured out what the matrix was. When did you find? I wouldn't say balance, because you're still going to manage the tension, right?
mm,
What, like, yeah? Can you describe to us that moment when you're like, wow, I know what's happening and I know how to respond?
mm, mm. I think the turning point was when my son was almost at school. He was close to 5. And we were just out, and he had said to me, Dad, what are you looking at on your phone? And so it was that comment, not at the time, but over the
Yeah.
next subsequent weeks and months, I started to wake up a little bit as to what was I actually looking at. And honestly, it was sort of like 99% of the time, it was pointless. It was nothing. There was nothing of value that I was looking at.
Yeah.
It just had filled a lot of my hours in the day. And
Wow.
so that's when I started to be like, oh man, I'm looking at absolutely nothing. What I'm looking at today, if we go back to, let's say yesterday, I couldn't remember anything that I had looked at. Can't
That's right.
remember. I don't know. What
All
did
of
I
us
do?
are like,
And so that's some of the questions that I pose to some of the workshops that I do. For those who are active on social media and Instagram, tell me from this day last week, last Friday, tell me what is it that you're looking at? Because obviously you spent 3 or 4 hours on Instagram last Friday. Tell me what it is that that can't remember. I don't know. And so I started to really start to unpack it all. I got these two 1v5 books where I started to write down, almost journalize my emotions around it. Like, why am I feeling like I should be checking how this athlete is doing, or this movie star is doing, or that person, or this person? As
yeah.
inspirational as they are, I was being more distracted instead of being inspired. Because I had my own life to live. I was
Yeah.
just so fascinated by everybody else and
Yeah.
the access that I had to their lives. I wasn't doing anything for me. You know.
Yeah.
mm,
So I'm interested, like you had these 2 points, distraction and motivation. Like, how do you, yeah, like how do you navigate that space between being distracted and then people say, oh no, I'm distracted by the good stuff because by
mm,
watching The Rock, I feel motivated. Then I end up scrolling endlessly or double
mm.
tapping or watching Instagram story or a video. Like, how do you differentiate between the two, or helping people go, okay, there's a point between distraction and motivation?
Mm-hmm. I think that balance is almost like your own personal journey, because with social media addiction, the visible signs or consequences of being addicted isn't as isn't as obvious as being drunk or being on drugs or someone that smokes or gambling. This addiction is 100% private. You can keep it a secret from the whole world, and only you will know if you're got your balance right or not. And so, I guess one of the solutions that I had for a lot of the high school kids is a lot of them follow a ton of people. There's some kids out there, or even us. We follow hundreds,
Yeah.
sometimes thousands of different opinions and voices. And so one of my solutions is, look, go through and spring clean anybody or anyone or any page that adds no value to you. If you're just
Yeah.
following someone because you like how they look, but not getting inspired by them, get rid of them. Well, like, oh man, there was one kid, he's studying for optometry, like
Yeah.
studying around the
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah.
He had messaged me a couple weeks ago, beginning of the year. He said, I'm gonna fail, man, because I got problems, man. I can't let go of my phone. And I asked him to do that. Clean out some people, man.
Yeah.
It's the people that you're following that's distracting you. He cleaned out 600.
Wow.
It's 600. He messaged back. He said, bro, I got rid of 600 people, and I was like, bro, so that's 600 opinions, 600 people that you watch their stories that you got rid of. How much more productive are you going to be now? And so, we're just not mindful of who we follow, because it's just that one moment in the day. Oh, I'll just follow this person. Right? You're going to start hoarding. You're
Yeah.
going to start hoarding all of these,
Yeah.
inspirational stuff or people and whatnot, and then all you have to show for it is 1,000 different opinions and
Yeah.
1,000 different people you're trying to follow.
It's like stored in the back of your psyche, isn't it? It's like having someone in your closet. Like, even though you can't see them, but it's like, some of the bad clothes are there, and you're like, oh yeah, it's as long as I have it, as long as I have that shirt that I'll never ever wear, but it's okay, just in case. I'll have that shirt. It's funny that you mentioned that, because the beginning of this year, my wife and I, we had a disagreement, but it was more so of a funny disagreement, because I just made a decision, exactly what you were saying. I made a decision on my Instagram, and I just said, I'm just gonna cull as many people as possible. She's like, what are you on about? It's like, so by then I was following up to like 3,000, but not because I was watching it. I was like, I'll see something I like, I'll follow that person. I'll say, I like that person. So I sort of try to stay away from actually mindless scrolling, but I realized I ended up following over 3,000 people. Then I just went nuts for over 3 days. And my wife was getting frustrated at me. She's like, you're always on your phone. But then she's like, oh, but you're culling people. I'm like, yeah, just be patient with me. Yeah, so I culled it down to around about, I think, 1,300. And then I said to her just the other day, I said, I'm going to cull again. So if anyone who's listening is following me, if I'm not responding to your comments, it's because we're not friends on social media anymore.
And good on you, man. Like, honestly, like, some of these people that we follow on Facebook and Instagram, I mean, I'll give an example of a few of my family members. Honestly, I love them to death in person, but honestly, I can't take what they're saying on social media. I don't know.
You all know that one or two family members that you're like, really? What? Really? Why?
Like, I love them, man, but a lot of them I've just stopped following. Like, because, like, what's the harm in me just calling them or keeping them on Messenger? Because I can still keep in touch with them, or their kids, So I think sometimes because of our want to be part of a village and a social digital space, we do it just out of respect.
Yeah.
But that starts to fill up that closet, like you're saying, and that's perfect. Like, perfect example. I heard a saying around clothes, and you could probably use it for social media. They said, look, like, if you don't wear it at least once every 4 to 6 months, then you got to get rid of it, Yeah. And probably the same with social media. If you're not getting inspired, or you don't need that person's opinion or inspiration every, I don't know, month or two, then why are you following them for?
Yeah. I'm interested to know when that shift made for you, when obviously you had this device, your son made that comment, you put thoughts to paper, you wrote it down. And then when did that happen where you began to say, I'm going to launch something in this space? That's in part one. And I guess part two of the question was, when did you realize that it began to catch on? with other people going, other people are actually thinking this is a need that was really met?
Mm. I figured it out, and honestly, I'm not perfect, but I had come up with some personal solutions for myself over this year and a half of really trying to study myself, because there was nothing out there. The literature was minimal,
Yeah.
because social media is still fairly new compared to every other addiction. But I had figured it out myself, and so um, for almost a year, so not last year, the year before, almost a year, I sat on it. I was like, man, I'd look at people and like, oh man, like so addicted, you know. And it's rich coming from me, because
So
I had been,
judgmental. Yeah. How dare you
like,
get on your phone?
and I'd be in family settings, and I'd like, you know, sit next to a cousin or family, like, have you ever thought about your social media addiction? Because you seem to be on your phone a lot. That was rich coming from you. They'd be looking at me like, what the hell are you on about, man? Like, this is real, this is normal life. We're all supposed to have our phones on us.
Yeah.
But back to the point, I was sitting on it for a whole year, and it was November of 2 years ago, and in more of a spiritual sense. It was in November. It was on a Tuesday, and I woke up, and God put it on my heart. He said, as an impression, if you don't do something about this today, what you've been sitting on, I'll give it to someone else. Someone else is going through the same thing as you, because you've been sitting on it. You've done anything. I pulled you out of that addiction, and you're doing nothing the whole year. And I was like, okay.
You got
just
me,
like
man.
we
You
all
got
do.
me.
Yeah, just like we all do. Like, it's just normal news, man. Or maybe it's just me. I just sat on it, and I had impressions that I should share my story. I should share the knowledge and the experience that I'd gone through, but I didn't do anything about it. So that Tuesday, I got up and I opened my laptop, and I was like, well, I don't know how to help people. Like, and it was just, call it digital discipline.
Yeah.
And so I approached a few of my cousins and my two younger sisters, because they were, you know, sort of where I was in terms of usage around social media, and said, look, I'm just going to create this little page, and it's just to share information and share my insight, and you know, just, that's what it is really. It had no sort of you know, sort of vision around it. But after I started sharing that stuff for a couple months, the beginning of last year, around this time, around March, April, I guess they started to share some of my content. And then it started to catch on with, I guess, community people had seen it, and a couple youth groups had seen it. And so youth leaders were messaging me and saying, look, we have massive social media issues in our youth group. It's all to do with gossip, and it's come from social media. Wow. Do you run any workshops, or can you come speak to our kids? Because we don't know what to say. It's a problem, but nobody's out here talking about it. My first thought was no. I don't do workshops. Sorry.
So talk to someone else. I just create the content, but I don't want to engage with it. I just want to get it off my chest.
But not reluctantly, but because it was more fear. It was another step that God had given me to say, look, well, now that you got yourself sussed with the content and comfortable with what you're saying, get out there now.
Wow.
And so I went and did one or two, and then I found myself creating these PowerPoint presentations. Now I was creating sort of worksheets and refining the sort of dialogue that I was talking to these kids about. And so over the course of the next couple months, I found myself at high schools and a university, and now I'm doing some work with the BHB. And so it's kind of evolved. And so all these steps of faith where I thought, you know, oh man, it just started off as just sharing. Now I'm up there. Now I'm doing assemblies, and it's all very still new to me. It's not anything to go promote myself, but it's just sharing my message. I think everybody's got a message, just like how you would see it, so, and how you would know. But all I'm doing really is just packaging my message, and then just trying to help kids or people in sort of the social media world understand what their balance is, and how to have a home where there's discipline with the digital devices and social media and internet, really.
So with the digital discipline for the name, because I love the name. I really do love the name, and it particularly the word discipline. What are some of the disciplines that you sort of coach people through? I'm not giving like a full-blown workshop, but what are some key discipline things that you share often with those who sort of connect with you and say, hey, our company's struggling with this? What do you take them through a full curriculum? Do you have 5 points?
Mm-mm. In terms of helping people, like when it's been intimate, that's probably where I like it best, when I am presenting sort of a workshop. Honestly, also it's hardly ever around the technology. It's all around the emotion. And
Wow.
what is it that's about your character that draws you to social media? So, for example, it could be that I am somewhat insecure, and I've never told anybody that I'm insecure, even though the most secure people that come off like they are really still searching for validation. I'll share an example about myself. And this is one of the massive learnings that I got from social media was, um, like all of us, we all love our parents, like,
Yeah.
and they've done an awesome job with us. However, a lot of them were quite instructional,
Mm.
and my parents were loving but very direct and instructional. And with that, not that much validation comes
Yeah.
from that. Not much affirmations come from that. And so, I didn't really hear too much praise growing up. So I always thought that I was missing the mark. It was almost good enough,
Yeah.
but just short
Just
of,
under. Just under.
just under. Just 10 things you did right, and then the one spoon you forgot to wash.
Yeah. Everyone's gonna know about the one spoon.
And so the reason why I loved social media subconsciously back then was because I never got validation, but now I can throw up a status or a photo of myself or me and my sons, and 50 people will like it. 10 people will comment,
Feels
Tony,
good.
you're so awesome, man, because, I haven't taken my sons to Motat. What's it like, or I haven't taken my sons up to Whangarei. And it wasn't the point that I went there. It's the point to get that validation I had been just like yearning for 18 plus years of my life.
Yeah.
Now I can get it straight away,
Straight away. Yeah.
right now. And so with that though, I didn't have to work on my, the depths of my character, because now I could fabricate a character online that's
Yeah.
doing these cool things, going to this place and going to that place. And that's the character that is important to me, because it's feeding something that has just been starving my whole life.
Wow.
If that kind of makes sense.
It
Yeah.
does. It does. So how do you go about then helping people realize, because I guess that's a real, I don't know, not a fine line, but that walk between when the realization for them, they go, something's missing in my life.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about it when people are in your workshop and just realize a crisis has happened in their life, and the reason why they're looking for validation? How do you coach people through this?
Yeah, man. It's I haven't got the sort of system like perfect, but honestly, I can only back my experience and my intuition.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I feel like when I've worked with people to try and develop it, it's too. I understand that there should be a system involved, but honestly, I think us as humans are the best piece of technology ever, and I think that
Wow.
with our capacity to read emotion,
Yeah.
to be able to connect on a proper level in a safe space,
Yeah.
there's no real computer system or 1, 2, 3 step um, for them to realize. It's just making sure that the environment that I provide for that person or this group of people, they can have their own aha moment. And so that's what I'm really gunning for, is to provide sort of a dialogue or a space where people can have those realizations, because it's not like a checklist where, well, if you go through these 2 steps or these 3 steps, then you'll realize why you want social media. It's not really that. And sometimes it happens straight away. Sometimes some people have messaged 2 weeks later where they're like, bro, I just realized what you meant from that post like two
Oh,
weeks ago,
wow.
because it's manifested itself in real time.
Yeah.
Because now when I try to pull the iPad off my son, he's having a fit. And I remember you posted about it 2 weeks ago, and now I know what you mean, because I'm like, and so yeah, it's stuff like that, man. So
What's your discipline? Obviously, I'm really interested to know, how do you go about your day with the device? Because people, for me, I'm on a device just because of work, because I'm restricted to home, which means I'm on the computer a lot, not just distracting with social stuff. Yeah, I've got my little social media tab open, just as every now and again I'll distract myself. But do you have a set routine for your day? Like, do you spend a few hours in the morning, in the mid, like, how do you go about breaking your day up? Because I'm just thinking now most of us are in lockdown and isolation. How do you, divide it in a way that you're not always on your device?
100%. Like for me, I always put out a disclaimer to the people that I present to that I'm not on any anti-social media campaign. I'm not like, let's go tech free, like it's impossible, because honestly, technology or social media has revolutionized information, or your access to information.
Yeah.
Like before, I don't know, we used to go to CD-ROM and look up Encarta, like, like that. And like go to the library to look at stuff, But social media is such an awesome place to find value, to find inspiration, and people that are driven. In terms of finding the right balance, though, I think it's more or less around the balance between consuming and creating. If you are in the process of creating something, then accessing information from social media and the time that you use to access social media, that, I mean, you kind of decide how much time you should be doing that.
Yeah.
But I think that's what we had talked about earlier, is making sure that you are honest and disciplined with the time that you're spending on it, because you could be going on social media for the intent to find someone like yourself that adds value. But while you're in that same room of social media, the temptation is, oh, well, now I'll have a lazy scroll through all these stories.
Happens to me all the time, man. Happens to me all the time. Like, I'm in there to either create or do a bit of research in terms of, what's people talking about? What's a topic that's hot or not? It just takes one click of someone that I'm following, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I just wasted 10 minutes, and then I snap out of it,
Yeah.
So it happens all the time.
The other parts of my day is when I'm with my boys, especially. Now that I've understood how much, hundreds of hours that I wasted in their childhood when they were first growing up, is every time that I'm with them, it's gone, it's away, and so if there is a moment I want to capture, then I'll capture that moment and then put it away, because I used to find myself recording it and then posting it in real time, and it comes with writing up a description, comes with putting it on your story. If I do want to show something, it'll be later on the day when they're asleep.
I'm exactly like that. I get pulled up by a lot of my friends and family. They're like, hey, you were in my area, you just posted up. It's like, sorry, that was actually 2 weeks ago. Like, it's just that, like you said, it's a discipline for me. I used to be in a place where Instagram, the description of the name itself means you have to be instant gratification, or instantly post it up, or your story has to be right then and there. So I frustrate a lot of people. I mean, like in a funny way, in a funny sense. They're like, was this from 5 weeks ago? I'm like, yeah, actually, it was actually from 2 weeks ago. Like, we just can't follow you. I'm like, that's not the point. The point is I post when I'm ready, not when I need to take a quick photo now or video. Okay, I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes. Kids, do whatever you need to do. Daddy's just going to try and figure out the best caption or the best slogan, So I'm very much in that same sort of space, or leaning into the same space that you're talking about.
Exactly. And like, for example, I'll be honest, this morning I had listened to a whole live which took 45 minutes, and that's on Instagram. So if you kind of word it in a different way, I was on Instagram for 45 minutes.
5 minutes. Yeah.
But the difference between what I did and what I used to do is, that was a live of a guy named Jordan River is his profile, And he
Is
was
he the
just,
guy off the? Is he the radio guy?
yeah, and
He's a crack up. He's a funny dude, eh?
he is. But this particular live was with a guy that had started up an initiative called Manaki,
Okay.
and it was talking about business. It was talking about their drive to help people within this whole COVID-19 epidemic thing with small business owners, which I am. And it was just a whole lot of learning. And I was while I was making pancakes, I was just writing down notes and listening to this live. And so, in terms of being productive on social media, 45 minutes. That's what I did instead of, because I could use 45 minutes and watch everybody's story
Yeah.
and scroll through. But if someone asked me a week from now, what did I do on Friday on social media? I'd be like, actually, I listened to that live for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
If I was scrolling through mindlessly, pointlessly scrolling through Instagram, I wouldn't be able to remember.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. What is something that you're excited about, I guess, in light of COVID-19 in the space of digital discipline? What excites you about this new season of work, this new unknown territory of digital space?
Yeah, bro, like I have a feeling, and it's myself and a few others that I've seen put out some content, because when you're in isolation, you got two choices, and that's to be productive or not. Like your two greatest resources are your time and your attention,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so um, you're either gonna come out very smart and knowledgeable and driven, and you just have used social media to really get the inspiration that you need and line things up, or you're just going to walk out of here with, I don't know, a couple hundreds of hours of scrolling through nothingness,
Yeah.
just like the physical aspect that I know that you're quite passionate about.
Yeah.
You got 4 weeks to get shredded and go for a run every single day for 5 to 10 Ks. You could do that because you got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be worse off health wise when you leave this 4 weeks or however long it is. So I guess to answer you, I'm excited for a lot of people. Really, the
Yeah.
amount of creativity that can stem on social media through this lockdown, and so yeah, I've pieced together some things for myself, and isolation has been awesome for me. Like in terms of understanding the direction that it needs to move into post COVID-19, and so yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. In terms of like the work you do in consultancy, do you enjoy working like with big companies, small groups, one-on-one? What's your preferred, and what has that experience taught you in being with big crowds, medium, and then one-on-one?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the corporate space, that's probably an area that I'm looking to get into. There's a guy named Ward Karma who's helping me piece that together, because for myself it's not at a level that I'm satisfied with in terms of taking that to the corporate market at least.
Yeah.
So it's been around um, community groups and schools and a few other sort of health groups has where digital discipline has been. But in terms of my preference, it's always a group that's under 20, really,
Okay.
because then you get a lot more honesty. And there's people that message through as well that are really desperate to get some sort of guidance and help. And those are the people that I don't mind. I got all the time in the world. Like some of them text through and message, and they say, "But does it cost? Will you charge me?" I'm like, "Nah, man. Like, if I knew there was a digital discipline, I would ask the same thing, because it's a service that's needed. I mean, with other addictions, they got everything. If I'm a gambler, there's websites, there's flyers, there's community groups, there's all the sort of structure to help me get out of gambling. With social media, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just me and probably the bigger tech companies. Oh, sorry, social media like NetSafe is one,
Yeah.
Family Zone's another one. But a lot of their programs or resources are online. So I like to communicate face to face with people, or if it's a phone call, then
Yeah.
that's what I'm more passionate about, because I wanted that. when I was struggling, and that wasn't around. So yeah.
Who in the space of digital, what you're doing now is currently inspiring you, maybe in a younger person or someone who's, you know, been doing this for a while? Like which people that you're finding a bit of inspiration from at the moment that you're following?
Bit of inspiration. I think it's no, there isn't too many people that have dedicated their brand or their sort of content around just social media addiction. I know people speak on it now and then. You know, even social media influencers like that Jay Shetty and Prince something.
BA or whatever.
Yeah. They they have content out there for it, but their whole um, sort of brand isn't built around just that. It's a range of things where mine at the moment is solely just that. So I do draw inspiration from those guys in terms of messaging and how to put it across. And so I guess, like I said earlier, I'm excited for where this is going into, because I feel like I have a creative side to myself, and there's a lot of different creative ways that you can portray a message instead of just posting, you know, what I'm doing already. And so so I'm getting some cool ideas and lining things up so that I can really hit these messages home in the real sort of in a real sort of visual way where people are like, holy shit, this is exactly what happened between me and so and so.
Yeah.
This person. That is exactly what happened. So that's where I'm at. Yeah.
That's awesome, because I think at the beginning, oh, I'm getting a bit of feedback. I'm not too sure what that is. Maybe it's me. I guess what we sort of mentioned earlier, I think may have been off screen, just about how to run in our lanes and how to do it well. And I think what really is inspiring me is the fact that you've found a niche that is so essential. It's so essential to our society, but at times it's a non-essential, if I can use those terms interchangeably, because everyone's using it. Essential, non-essential, but it's an essential thing, but it's at the same time, it can create us to be non-essential, like no one else exists outside of our world other than this. And so I guess I'm really encouraged to know that there are people like yourself in this space that are really championing this space and trying to really help people go, hey, how do we do this well and still maintain our connections with people? If people want to get in contact with you, Tony, what are your social handles? Do you have a website? Give us a bit of details in case people will listen and watch in and go, yeah, that's me. I'm part of that demographic that Tony's talking about.
Yeah.
I need to help for myself. May not be for my company, but how do they reach out to you?
Yep, just Instagram and Facebook. Just search Digital Discipline. Hopefully my not so handsome face will pop up. Click on that and follow. The reason, like, it's really funny to tell people to like follow me, because it's like, it doesn't defeat the purpose of social media.
The whole thing of
but the reason why I love it, because I've got feedback over it the last couple of months, is people have said, bro, I hate following your stuff, because
it's truth.
It's the truth. And like, I've just spent an hour on it, and then your post comes up about time management, and I've just one guy said, bro, I just felt like smashing my phone when I see you. Like,
good.
Hey, also, don't unfollow me though. You know? One day you'll realize, and then you'll start making some changes. At least I'm in your ear, you know.
Yeah.
As terms of website's coming soon. I'm
Awesome.
hooking that up slowly. So it'll be digitaldiscipline.co.nz.
Yeah.
But that's something that'll come out in the next few months. So
yeah, awesome. Tony, again, such a pleasure to talk to you. I've gained a lot of insight and gems from it as well. Resonated with a lot of stuff that you shared. So, hey, do you have a final word for our listeners or our viewers today in terms of your space and things that you're passionate about?
Yeah. Get in touch if you're really struggling, because it's such a private and a secret addiction. And I know only you will know that it's a problem, and you don't want that to keep festering and keep building, and it to keep affecting different parts of your life. So get in touch. it's awesome just to connect with people and really unload and talk. But other than that, get in touch with me and I'll be more than happy to help anybody that's struggling. Other than that, hope everybody stays safe. Please be patient with your kids
Yes.
during lockdown.
All of us. So,
All of us.
yeah.
And God bless everybody, and hopefully we all, as a people of the world, that we walk out of this okay. So
Awesome.
appreciate it. Also.
Well, thank you for tuning in once again, everyone, to our episode of Inspiration in Isolation. This is Tony Laulu, Digital Discipline. Again, connect with him on social media, the irony of it all, but he's super passionate about helping you live the best life that you can while we're in the season of COVID-19. So thank you again. We'll catch you on the next episode. I'm Ray. That's Tony. Peace out.
Peace.